Hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. I'm Grace Kelly, founder of City Girl Confidence, and I'm coming to you live today from Puglia, Italy. That's in the sunny southern Italy. So you're in the right place if you have been going around in circles on what it is you would like to do next with your career, on what it is you'd like to offer people with the expertise and the level of experience that you have. If you find yourself constantly changing direction, maybe you do have an inkling on what you'd like to do, or perhaps you have an idea that you'd love to start implementing, but you kind of keep switching. And you're also in the right place if you're going between two things. So maybe you totally have one direction that you'd love to go in, but then you have another one that you'd equally love, and you're just not sure where to go and what to focus on. So my intention with this call today is that you will begin to experience the clarity that is always available to you, that you will begin to see a direction of travel for your work, your business, your career. And I'm not just speaking to those of you that are in business or have your own business or want to have your own business, but I'm speaking in the broader terms of being on purpose and doing something you love. That's what I'm all about. Really just doing what you love in life and enjoying your life in the process. Because so often we can get caught up in trying to make something work. And we can get caught up in the whole logistics of trying to get by and trying to simply do whatever it is we can in any given moment. And we lose sight of the creative potential within all of us and the opportunities that are always available to us when we're not lost in all that crazy thinking about how we should be already further ahead, how we should already know what we want to do next, how we should already have the answers for wherever we're currently at, or given the amount of money we've already spent or been thinking about spending in terms of getting somewhere. So if anything, I want today's call and this webinar to really support you in, firstly, coming back home to self with a capital S. If nothing else, use this call to quieten down and settle down. That's one of the things that my clients report to me more and more. They say, Grace, I just want to get on the phone with you because I know by the time I get off, I'll be over my panic or my anxiety or my stress. Whatever has been going on before the call will have shifted. So if nothing else, use this time together to experience what I can only describe as your true self. Your true self with a capital S, the part of you that has the answers, the part of you that knows the direction she wants to go in, the part of you that always is already clear and already home. And my second intention with the call is that you will see something new about your experience, that you will get an insight, or you will get a clarity, or you will get an aha around something you've been going back and forth on, or around something that's been causing you to struggle in recent months or years. There's only so much time on the call, so I'll get through as much of the content. We've got some fun content here to get through, and I'll get through as much as that as possible. But towards the end of the call, I will make a very special time-limited offer for those of you that might like to go a bit deeper with me, and for those of you that simply think the offer is too good not to take advantage of straight away. So do stay on until the end of the call if you can. Listen all the way through if you want to get a taste of what is available for you should you be thinking about going a bit deeper on this exploration with me. So now's the time to close down your whatever's open, your phones, your computers, your Facebook. My Facebook has been going all day because I just announced that today I got engaged. Well, last night I got engaged. So I have closed all of that down, as exciting as it is, to be present and here with you, and to really be able to share with you what I want to share. And so what are we sharing today? We're sharing, finally get clear on how you can be of service, get your business going, and experience the peace and contentment your soul craves. So let me start with a story. Let me start with what has been really most kind of significant for me, and the reason that I'm even bringing this title and this content forward. And for those of you that don't know me, you know, like I started out as a French teacher in London, and I was pretty determined to succeed in that career. I enjoyed my teaching. I enjoyed the children that I taught. I taught 11 to 16-year-old boys. But I noticed that a lot of my time and energy was going into really boring tasks, actually, that I didn't want to do, quite honestly, like things that were not related to teaching, things that were not related to, you know, being of service in a way that you love. And so I quickly got quite bored with that. And I realized pretty soon into my career, if I'm honest, that that wasn't really what I wanted to do and to spend my life doing. On top of that, I worked in a very unstylish environment. Like, it was in the suburbs of London, and there wasn't even a coffee shop. Like, that's how dreary it was. Like, there wasn't even, I'm not even talking about a Starbucks or a Costa Coffee. We should be so lucky. I'm talking about there wasn't somewhere to even go away from the building and just get some space. So I was always in this really tight, ugly environment with these high energy, wonderful pupils and kids, but just not feeling fulfilled, just always feeling like, oh, you know, here we go again. And so I spent like 6 years in that position. For 6 years, I got up and I went to work every day. I tried to just like it. I tried to get on with it. And I tried my best where I was. But I really noticed when I was there that I was getting tireder and tireder. So I would leave my job and be more exhausted than when I had woken up that morning. And I would often, you know, need constant outside motivation to even just go there. So first thing in the morning, all I could think of was, how the hell am I going to get out of bed? Okay, we'll get a motivation, we'll get a reason to go today. Over time, my health started taking a hit, because if any of you know, when you ignore your wisdom, your body starts to tell you, especially for us women. So my body started to take a hit, and I began to get frequent colds, frequent flus, frequent sinus problem. Like, there was always something occurring and appearing, and I just was living life surviving. I was always tired, no energy, no sense of purpose. And the turning point for me came one day when I was en route to work on the tube. It's the London Underground, a train, for those of you that aren't sure of that. And I was en route to work, and I took what I can only describe as a panic attack. So it was all I could do to get off the train and sit down on the stairwell. I couldn't breathe. And in that moment, I realized something. And I realized, I don't want to live like this anymore. Hundreds of people were rushing past me to get to their jobs. No one was stopping to say anything. People were caught in the cycle of rush, 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 stress, stress, stress. And frankly, every time I looked at my bank account, the money was going on my health. So I was going to this job to work and then spend my money that I'd earned on figuring out what was wrong with my health. So at some point I woke up and I thought, this just doesn't make sense anymore. This just isn't what I want to do. And I did not know what else I could do. I had no idea at that stage what else I could do, but I had a very clear decision that it wasn't this. So My opportunity to change came very unexpectedly. About 6 months after this incident, I came home one day and my partner was in the kitchen and he said to me that he was done with London. Now, this is the last thing I wanted to hear because I wasn't done with London. I had created friends, a community. I loved the lifestyle. I loved the variety. So it was quite difficult for me to hear this, but some part of me knew this is the ticket out. You gotta go. This is the way out. And his choice was, let's go to Italy for a year and then we'll go to Canada. Of course, I got to Italy and the idea of Canada went right out the window because I did not want to ever leave once I got here, given that suddenly I went from the dreary suburbs of London to this stylish, beautiful environment where people actually don't care about how much you work, they care about how much you're enjoying your life. So my time in Italy has been like really unexpected, but also very nourishing. Now, before you start to think, oh, she had a rich boyfriend, that's how she got out of her job, both of us were leaving our situations behind. Both of us were saying yes to figuring out a next step. So both of us were taking a risk, not knowing what was going to occur next, but very clear that we weren't going to do more of the surviving we had been doing. So here I am in Italy that first year, having a nice time, enjoying it all. You know, we don't need to think about work so much because there is no work, you know, and we have this easier time because you don't need, at that point, you didn't need as much money compared to London. So there was a sense of spaciousness that opened up all of a sudden. Well, as much as I loved the spaciousness and lying on the beach, there came a point where I literally was getting very frustrated and bored. And I say this to all of my clients, you know, as much as you think you want to live your life on holiday, there's some part of you that really wants to serve and help others. There's some part of you that will wake up after your restful period that will actually just want to put you back out there. And that happened to me within about 9 months. I just started getting more and more of a desire to be of service, to help people, and to look towards what else I could do. But I had only ever been a teacher. So I didn't know. But like, I was just a teacher. What else could a teacher do except teach? I didn't know if there was another way. What was helpful to me was to see that other people had changed their lives, had changed their careers, had, you know, was to be around some communities and role models who had already done it. So I simply, from afar, started looking in that direction. I started seeing that people were coaching. I started seeing that you could, you know, help people in a new way. I started seeing that people were just getting online and teaching other people how to do stuff. And I thought to myself, wow, you know, I could do that. People often have come to me for advice. People have often wanted to know what my story is. And I'd spent a little bit of time actually in London delving into the world of personal development. So it wasn't like a whole new thing to me, but it wasn't something I'd ever considered that I could do, that I could actually engage with. A moment came during my journey of trying to figure out what I could do, given my skills, given my experience, where I couldn't really afford not to make a decision anymore. I had become so financially dependent on my partner that our relationship was just going south. You know, I hated the fact I had to ask for money at the time. I hated the fact that I couldn't go and buy the things I wanted to buy. I hated the fact that there was conflict beginning to arise. And there came a turning point where I really had to wise up and stop playing this I'm not clear, I don't know what else I could do game that I was playing, because it was literally starting to cost me in terms of my relationship. And that was so important to me that I did not want to lose it, and I did not want to live life in conflict. So in my exploration of what else I could do, I started to look at what I had done. I started to narrow down a little bit what my interests were. And I came to a point of recognition where, rather than sitting on the beach praying all day and finding myself in tears about how I'm not clear and I don't know what I could do and everybody else seems to have the pie but I don't have the pie, I just kind of woke up and saw, make a decision, Grace. Pick a lane, choose a direction of travel. And my direction of travel was between two areas at that point. I was really interested in well-being because I'd been burnt out and I'd been exhausted in London. And I'd also, as a teenager, I'd also experienced problems around food and eating, and I'd overcome that without therapy or traditional methods. So I was really interested in well-being, but I was equally interested in purpose and purposeful living and doing what you love. And so I chose a lane. I chose the direction of purpose and career, and given that my story and my experience was fresh around that, that seemed like a really nice direction of travel for me to start going in. So I began to share on my Facebook, on blogs, on any opportunity I had to speak to others, how I had been now searching for more purpose in my life, how I'd left my job, left a salary behind, and was now in this exploration of what else is there for me. And that literally began my career as a coach. That sharing led to inquiries, it led to media opportunities, it led to, at one point when I got really strong in the message, it led to 10 clients in the space of 30 days when I had none originally, or I had one here and one there every so often. And so I began to live more on purpose and in service and less frustrated. I went from not knowing, or this idea that I didn't know, to actually choosing a direction of travel and sticking with it. And this is one of the things that I say to my clients all the time, you know, when they come to me, like it's the first element of our content here, you know, this process of simply going in a direction that you would love to go in is going to be so helpful to all of you if you're spinning on what do I want to do? What have I got that I can offer people? What is it that I can sell? What is it that I'm about? You know, it really is about looking towards knowing that you have the clarity within you, pulling up your big girl boots. I mean, for me, I was literally at times sitting on the beach like a little spoiled girl, you know, with tears coming down her eyes. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it was like, we know, we always know. Most of my time is spent with clients now, drawing out the wisdom that's already in them, because we know what we want to do. And so in choosing that direction of travel, in choosing that lane, if you like, my world began to open up. And that's like one of the first things I would like to pinpoint for our content today. Like, I really want to pinpoint that the process to help you identify how you can be of service starts with considering. We have some static. 1 second. If your line's not muted, please do so. Can you mute your line? We'll get back. We'll get back to the content. So you know, really, the process starts with us taking a stand for being clear, which if you're on this call right now, you're already demonstrating that. You're already saying, I'm not up for any more confusion. And then moves to looking at what is it that you have experienced or empowered yourself with, that you would like people to know or to learn. Because it was really clear to me that I wanted people to know they could leave their jobs and they'd be okay. It was so clear to me that I'd done that, so I had no insecurity around sharing that. Now, I mentioned that my other area of interest was well-being. I felt a lot more insecure about sharing stuff around health and well-being and food problems, because that just felt like, oh, I don't want people to know that at that particular time. So one of the ways we can identify a direction of travel for our service, especially if we're swinging between two areas, is which one do you just feel really comfortable sharing right now? Which one just feels like the easy one? You wouldn't have an issue getting up and sharing it on stage, on a blog, publicly. Which one is it? Now, if we take it back a step around the process of being clear, there's an element of really recognizing where clarity comes from. Because you see, I believe we are born confident and clear. If you look at little babies, you don't see little babies having any sort of self-consciousness or confusion. They're just themselves. They're just happy. They'll let you know when they're not. At some point in our journey, I think we get aware of ourselves and we become very self-conscious. And with that, we get so focused on us, the little us, not the true self, but the small us, that we literally wind ourselves up with more and more insecure thinking, to the point that that's all we can see up here. We can't see the clarity that's right just behind that. We don't see the confidence that's always available, let alone feel it. Because we get lost in this world of thought that really takes us from being present and clear and confident to being caught up, fearful, self-conscious, and way too self-concerned. And we begin to evaluate ourselves. Oh, I can't do that because someone else is already doing it. Oh no, I can't talk about that because I don't have experience or credentials. Or no one's going to want to hear that from me because that's not a big deal. Watch how you evaluate yourself, because I can promise you the ideas are coming to you. The clarity's there. The ideas, the products, the services, the career changes, the romances, the desires, it's all there. But as you start to evaluate, you move further and further away. So coming back to the process for identifying how you can be of service. You know, I take my clients through a sort of a 10-step, 10-question process that helps them really get clear on their style of work and business and direction that most suits them. And the reason I do that is because when they see that, when they go through that process, they begin to wake up to what is important to them. They begin to wake up to what is key for them long term if they're to succeed. And as part of that process, I always like to start with, what's your story? Like, tell me about your story. What have you done or what have you experienced that's been a game changer, a life changer, a body changer, a well-being changer for you? And so often, ladies and gents, whoever is listening, the key to your service is in your story. It's in your experience. It's not really in your qualifications, though those are helpful, but the thing that is relatable to the public and the world at large is your story and your personal journey. And there's something about starting there that I see with my clients as we go through that process. They begin to connect the dots. And I encourage you to start there too. Consider, what is my story and what is the thing that I have overcome or solved or changed or empowered myself with despite the odds. And if you're someone listening and you're like, oh my God, but my story is massive and I've got all these bits to it and I wouldn't know where to start, let's keep this simple. I'm a great believer in simplicity. Go to the most recent thing. At the time I got my business going by sharing the most recent thing I had engaged with, and that was leaving my job despite losing my salary, leaving my job despite losing my city, leaving my job despite not having anything to go to. Go to your most recent if it helps you. And consider, consider that. Consider how cool that is and how unique that is, how amazing that is, that whatever you just did, whether it was 4 years ago or 5 or 10 or 3 months ago or whatever, there's juice in that. There's clarity in that. And as you begin to consider your story, look for the turning point. I say this to my clients as part of our process as well. What was the turning point? Like, you heard me talk about my 2 turning points. One was I was on the train to work and I took a panic attack and I just decided I wasn't living like that anymore. That was a turning point in my life. And the other one was I was sitting on the beach literally crying yet again, totally frustrated and worrying that I was going to lose my relationship because I was so financially dependent on my partner. And then I made the decision from there, that's it. I'm picking a lane. I'm taking direction. Look for your turning point. You've all got one. No one on this call doesn't have a story. No one on this call doesn't have a turning point. And here's the cool thing. That's why you don't have to worry about who's my ideal client. Oh my God, what's my niche? Oh my God, what am I supposed to be doing? Because your story and your turning point inform who's going to come to you. So as I began to share my story and my turning point in leaving my job, more and more corporate women started showing up. More and more women were saying, hey, can you help me leave my job? I want to do that. More and more people were interested in me talking about how I had done that and why I had done that. So you know, rather than me coming up with who I'd like to work with and you know, what age is she and where does she live and what does she look like, it started to emerge as I began to share my journey. And the cool thing about sharing your story and your journey, when you nail that piece for yourself, is that, you know, people relate to it. It takes away all of the strenuous searching for what you're meant to be doing and who you're meant to be serving. So I got into service from that, sharing that story and really starting to be consistent with that. And let me talk about that for a moment, because that's part of our content here today. You know, when people come to me and they say, you know, I've got this idea, I'm not making any money with it and nobody seems to want it and all the rest, I usually find out that the reason that's not happening is because they've not been sharing the same thing over and over again. They've shared it once or twice or maybe 10 times here and there, but they've not been any way consistent in their sharing. So, you know, if you're not being consistent, you can't expect results. There's something around sticking to one thing at a time and sharing that in as many different ways as you can on as many different platforms as you enjoy. Like in the case of my lovely client, Robin, who I sent out to you all last week. You know, when Robin came to me for clarity, you know, she was sharing with me, you know, that she was considering going back to a job and she was considering having interviews. She was even having some interviews. And this was all because there was no income coming in. And what we uncovered through our exploration was that actually she had ideas, she had stories, she had turning points. She even had content written, but she wasn't sharing it consistently. So that was kind of a really easy, like, no-brainer. You're not going to have, your business isn't going to be going in any direction if you're keeping all this brilliant information and all these ideas to yourself. So there's something about just sharing. You know, when I said in the content, you know, the reason you aren't consistent and what to do about it, like, what to do about it is to start sharing. Start sharing the direction of travel you are choosing to go in. Start sharing your story with us. Start sharing your turning point with us or with the people that you're around or networking with or whatever. Now, there is an exception to the rule that I have seen, like in the case of my beautiful client, Rita. Rita came to me and she was like totally not, she was wanting to go in the direction of relationships and she was into beauty and femininity and everything just suited her down to the ground. But there came a point in her journey where she just was sort of, I suppose, doubting herself around that and very much not sure if that was definitely the way she should go. And so she came back to me, and she's come back to me most recently to say that actually, you know, everyone keeps coming to her, asking her for relationship advice, asking her to talk about relationship. Now, this is a cool way to identify your service and offer if it's happening in your life. Not everyone is as blessed as that one, right? In terms of knowing clearly from the outside what to focus on. But if there is something that people consistently want to hear from you on or come to you about or want to talk to you about, it's a pretty good indicator that that's the direction of travel. That's the area of service or interest. As I take clients through my process in terms of really getting clear on what they're going to contribute, on what they're here to do. And many of these women, I would like to point out, this isn't their first rodeo. Like they're 45 plus. They've been in careers, they've maybe had businesses, and they're looking at what it is they want to do next. So coming through the process of really understanding and knowing, you know, exactly what you're all about at this stage and exactly what you want to contribute is a miracle in itself. And 9 times out of 10, they will say to me, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I knew that. Because it's already there. It's already available to you. And so you have something now that you can begin to go and explore in terms of story, in terms of turning point, in terms of what is the world asking for from you, if you want to go from that side of things. And in really looking at what am I most comfortable sharing with people? Because when you share from insecurity, you won't be consistent. That's the real reason people aren't consistent. It's not that there's something wrong with them. It's not that they've got a money story to fix. It's not that they've got more stuff to fix before they can get out there. It's not even that they're lazy. It's that people get lost in their own insecure thought. And when you fall for that, it's hard to get up and eat breakfast, let alone be consistent with being visible, sharing a message, being online, being offline, being in your business. Now, one of the ways that I see people fall for this insecurity over and over again is they begin to get self-conscious. They begin to compare themselves. They begin to think there's a right way to do this. And it's not helped by the fact that the whole world online especially is telling you there's a right way to do this. There's your way. And your way is the only way that will work. You have wisdom. You have the same access to wisdom as all the geniuses in the world, as all the best business leaders in the world. You have the same access to wisdom as everybody has. And your job is to operate more from there than from insecurity. And as you do so, I can promise you, your business will be going. You'll be doing well. Your well-being will rise up. Your ability to communicate and have confidence in what you've got will just be there. That's one of the reasons I really believe you don't need more mindset work. None of us do. I spent years on mindset work. And one thing I noticed was the moment I took my foot off the gas where my mind was concerned, I just went back to all the same level of insecure thought and worry and stressful thinking that was always there. Now, in the moment, reading these wonderful books and saying these lovely words kind of gave me a boost. It was kind of helpful in the moment. But at some point, I find myself back on the couch. And when you're in that state, the last thing you want to do is pick up a book and start reading it. You're struggling with the day-to-day when you're in that state of mind. So for me, it's not about you or any of us working on our stories more, our money story, our wounds, our breakups, our past, our mother, our father. It's not about that. That's not where success comes from. Now, that might be helpful if your wisdom guides you to have some healing around an area, or to do an exercise, or to read a book. I'm not saying don't follow your wisdom if that's calling you. But what I see as to why people are really not having much consistency with their business, are really not having income, are really not out there sharing, they're spending far too much time on their mindset, on looking for and fixing problems that aren't even there. So the one thing that I believe will truly help you succeed, whether it's around money or it's around health or it's around having clients and an income, or whether it's around changing jobs or just enjoying your life more, the one thing that I see that helps is that you don't get lost in insecure thought. And when you start to recognize that your insecure thought is just that, it's thought, it has no meaning. If you let it move on and pass by, it will go. Then you start to operate in a whole new way. The problem is when we get lost in insecure thought, we think it's real. So we start to look for more of it. That's what I notice from clients that come to me. They innocently get really caught up internally and mentally to the point that they really think that this thing they're thinking is real, so they better go and work on it more before they can serve. They better go and fix it before they can charge a certain amount or ask for a certain proposal to be done for a client. They better go and explore more about the thinking that they're having. I'm not interested in the content of your thinking, because I have seen from my own experience a deeper understanding around life that points to the fact that yes, we experience life through thought, but it has very little meaning. It passes on, it moves on the moment we let it. So if you're someone, you find yourself spending more time on mindset or more time on figuring out what's wrong with you and what else you need to fix. If you're someone who, keeps changing direction because you're totally convinced that the confusing thoughts you're having must be real, take a step back. Taking a step back from that insecure thinking will help you. Looking into it more and more will not. And that's been one of the huge common denominators I've seen with clients who've come to me who have been really quite successful very quickly, and others who take longer. The ones who are more quickly getting into the creation of what they want and getting going, they're not getting lost in insecurities. They're not, and to be frank, that was my experience starting out too. I didn't feel insecure about whether or not I could talk about leaving your job. I was just like, I'm going for this. This is my direction of travel. Now, innocently, I can understand that being human, self included, we get lost, we get caught up, we get stuck in that level of insecurity, and sometimes it looks really, really real. But there's something about noticing when you're lost instead of falling for it. And that's the difference with me now. And that's the difference with my clients now. We're not likely to fall for what we used to. And as a result of that, life changes. In my own life, personally speaking, I experience a contentment that I didn't have before. I had all of the great credentials and the 5-star lifestyle and the first class travel and the Forbes award-winning brand and blog. But I can't say I had a deep sense of well-being and contentment because I constantly felt caught up in that insecure thought. I constantly fell for that level of thinking. And as I did so, my life demonstrated and reflected more of that. As I work with each client, I see each time that people start to transform when they're not falling for it. That if they just catch themselves even just a little bit more than they did yesterday, that alone can change their business and their world. And so this to me is the most graceful way of putting an end to any sort of self-consciousness or questioning yourself or living discontent. It's that beginning to notice when you're getting lost in your insecurities. It's that living beyond insecure thought and operating from your wisdom that's always there, always trying to get you to your next place and move you to your next, creation. But so often and so innocently, when you don't know where your experience is coming from, as humans, when you're in that, you fall for it even more. And then people around you tweak your insecure thinking even further. Because innocently they fall for it too. I always say to my clients, I'm not interested in the content of your mind. You can tell me whatever's going on. You can talk to me about what you think is going on and what you think the problem is. I'm interested in moving you back to pure clarity on what you're going to do next. I'm interested in moving you back to the confidence that's already there. I'm interested in creating a way forward for whatever objective it is you have. And so there's something really powerful about living from that space. It's why I said in our title, experiencing the peace and contentment your soul craves. Because ultimately, that's what we're all looking for. We think the bank account will give it to us. We think the man might give it to us. We think the business will give it to us. It's already there. And I can promise you that the less you're living life caught up in those insecurities and the more you are taking action around your wisdom, the more results you will see. It's that simple. I'd love to check in just on what you're hearing, like this. What are you hearing in this? Because right now there's an element of I'm sharing and I'm talking and I don't know what you're hearing. So if anyone would like to comment, even briefly, or ask a question, now would be a great time if you'd like to do that. And to do that, I would suggest, because I can see you all, I would suggest you maybe just raise your hand so I can see that you're raising your hand. That would be awesome. And you don't have to. Oh, okay, there we go. There's Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hi. So one of the things that I'm hearing is that it's actually a lot simpler and that our mind tends to make it complicated. And even while you were talking, I was getting all these hits and then my mind would make it complicated.
Yeah, I love that you're seeing that. Yeah. If it's not simple, it's not wisdom.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks for coming on. Did you have anything else?
Well, just you talking about it made me feel more peaceful, and it was giving me ideas that I can play with.
Brilliant.
And helping me refine, because I have a lot of things that are going around. I'm shifting what I'm doing to make it more of what you're talking about here. It's more true to me, and then not getting caught up in, oh, but that means this, and then I have to do that, and I don't know how to do this, and
Brilliant. I hear some clarity coming through. I love that. Clarity without the evaluation.
Yeah.
Huge. We'll keep
and it's also stimulating. I think one of the issues that I have grappled with is I have too many things that I could do. And then I've gotten advice on, well, because you know how to do that, so you should do this, and that's what people need. And it's more important really to tune into what I want to do. And your comment about what's the most recent thing kind of opened up a new avenue to look at.
I love that. Yeah. It's one of the reasons that, when clients come to me, I say, like, I can't, no one can give you advice on what your purpose or your relationship or your next thing should be, right? It's why we spend time drawing out the wisdom that's already in you and then bringing that together. So you sound like you're opening up.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about that is that when I have had experience of people telling me, it never works out because it doesn't feel right. And then it becomes inconsistent because it just doesn't feel right.
Right. Exactly. It's when you're in it, you win it. So someone else being in it and telling you and trying to, that's kind of less you. So I'll be curious to see where that goes. Wonderful. Thanks for your comment.
Thank you.
Real quick check-in. Anybody else? Something that you want to share, what you're hearing? Got a question? I'm here for you for a second. And if we have time at the end, I'll open it up again to a possible question. Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, I couldn't let this go by. I'm sorry. I just want to say I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
That's what I want to say.
I don't know. Yesterday I got engaged. So
I'm so happy. Congratulations to you and Marcel. Give my congrats to him too. Big hugs.
I have to say it was quite an exciting event. So it sort of left me going, oh yeah, I'll have to trust my wisdom on this webinar today a lot more than usual, because we've just been bombarded with beautiful opportunities and wishes all day. It's been great. So I love this idea that you all, and it's not just an idea, it's the truth, that you all have access to the same creative potential as even the biggest business leaders out there. There was a time in my life where I used to do this exercise where we were asked to own the traits of the people we admired. And I used to find it such a strange thing to but I really thought at that time, oh, if I just see that I'm like them, then I'll be okay. And that served its purpose for when it was happening. But it was almost like another mindset thing again. It makes absolutely no sense to try and make yourself be like someone else, when the reality is that we're all accessing and have the same connection to the same level of wisdom. You know, just as the acorn becomes an oak tree and the embryo becomes a baby without you or I doing anything about it, that same wisdom is there to support you in creating whatever it is that's next, to support you in getting to where you want to go. And sometimes I think we can get lost in this idea that we have to change ourselves to be successful, that there must be something lacking, something that needs changed. And whilst positive change that comes from you that you would like to do is helpful, what's not helpful is waking up every day and thinking that you need to be something different or someone different in order to succeed. In my own life, I have seen times where sometimes my state of mind has been very low and I've been very successful. It had nothing to do with whether or not I was in a good state of mind or meditating or doing affirmations or, you know, emulating people. And there were other times where I've been in a really good state of mind and been living in that space of well-being and sort of, you know, seeing success emerge in a new way, in new areas. So the less we're falling for this insecurity, the better. The more we are connecting to the wisdom within us, and if it helps having someone draw that out, like, great. But it, you know, it's there. It's part of the plan for you. Then the more we're able to create services, generate products, do great things with what we've got. And the more we're in a space of service, as opposed to a space of being in our head, then just the better that is. So today, you know, we've been able to delve in and you've been able to get a sense of, you know, the process that you want to start looking at, you know, to develop that next step for yourself, whatever that will be. You know, you can identify quickly, I should hope at this stage, from looking at what I've shared, you know, where you're at and what you can do for yourself. And clarity has started opening a bit for some of you, I'm sure. And we've heard from Jill in terms of what she's experiencing. So I know that this will land, and I would encourage you to watch this recording again.